Carjackers. Carjackers. They ran up on the wrong one and they ran up on an off-duty Chicago cop because carjacking is such a big deal in a lot of these sanctuary cities and these blue cities. They carjacked an off-duty cop. Check it out.
They picked the wrong neighborhood. That is what people living in Morgan Park are saying about a group of carjackers who tried to steal an off-duty officer's car. That officer ended up in a shootout with the carjacking crew. Our Sade Gray reports that gunfire was captured on camera.
That officer is expected to be okay. We're told he's a 25-year police veteran, a father, a husband, and a volunteer coach in this community. Neighbors tell us this is not the block to target.
If I'm robbing neighborhoods, I'm not coming to this neighborhood.
A neighborhood filled with first responders is now the focus of an early morning shooting.
You drive up and down the block, there's CPD, bumper stickers, flags, signs. I mean, it's pretty common to find a police officer on a block.
Police say an off-duty officer was confronted by multiple armed suspects near 108th and Campbell. The officer exchanged gunfire with the suspects. It's not clear who fired first. You can hear the gunshots on video from a camera in the neighborhood.
Y'all see how it's middle of the day? That's not even a bad neighborhood. You can see the little water jugs because they want their filtered water. And you know, it's a nice clean street and it looks like a minivan and a Subaru or something like that, a Honda over there. And they're walking around and they're carjacking people in the middle of the day. They're not just stealing cars. They're not trying to get caught. They're running up on you and they're carjacking. And it just so happens that these people live, work, and play all in the same area. And so you see a lot of police officers and people and first responders all living in the same neighborhood, but they ran up on the wrong one today.
You then see a person running, and shortly later, a black car drives off.
It seems like a different world. The idea that at 5:30 in the morning, someone would do this to somebody on their way to work is crazy. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that years ago, but I suppose now, you know, time doesn't matter.
Alderman Matthew O'Shea is calling this an attempted carjacking.
As crazy as it sounds, I'm glad it was a trained police officer and someone I personally know who is the first one to step.
Look how nice the street is.
To help protect someone.
The alderman says early reports show this same crew of suspects could be tied to other crimes in the 8th District and as far away as Lansing.
They have absolutely no fear. No fear of what they could be up against. It's a video game to them. And in this case, luckily, it was a trained member of law enforcement who was there and was able to protect himself.
There are no reports of any.
Which is one of the reasons why I am an advocate for people getting their CPL, their concealed pistols license, being able to carry, and being able to defend themselves. Because if the only people that have guns are the ones that's not getting caught and is tied to other crimes, and they're not even worried about getting caught because they've been doing these crimes all across the entire city, and they find it to be profitable, and then they take the cars over to a chop shop and they take your phone and they take all of your stuff and take your money out of the ATM, and they make sure that you give over your PIN number when they put that gun and that pistol to your head. If you don't have any ability to be able to defend yourself, and I think that both women and men need to be carrying and certified, going to the classes, and don't just get your pistols license. I'm not sure what the laws are over in Chicago, but I know over here in Michigan, we strapped. We strapped like they strapped down in Texas. And so don't just go and get go and get a pistol or try to just get a license real quick. Take the classes, become educated, learn what you can and can't do, and then be able to defend yourself, especially if you're living in a city like this, because you should not be the victim of a crime and be helpless waiting for somebody to come to your rescue. At this point, it's getting to the point to where you basically got to defend yourself. Anyways, moving on. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong one. Moving on from that, a Philly teen was executed with over 50 shots being targeted and directed in his way. Check it out.
Right now, Philadelphia police trying to solve a mystery and find the killers of a 16-year-old boy. It is a busy night here on the 10 o'clock news. I'm Jason Martinez.
I'm Sheba Russell. Police say 3 shooters chased the victim before killing him execution style. And Steve, police have few clues to go off as they search for the gunman.
Well, that's because so many people these days in Philadelphia have surveillance cameras. And once again, cameras like that have showed police what happened here. And also, once again, we learned that killers don't even care these days that there are so many cameras around, there's so many witnesses around on a nice summer afternoon like today.
Found a 16-year-old male laying behind the house, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to his chest and torso.
Police on scene quickly saw a trail of bullet shells.
Look at all of those shells. That's more like 60. I need to change this bottom ticker to be 60 instead of 50. That's 58 bullet shells levied towards a teenager, a 16-year-old in the back of an alley in the daytime.
58 in total that went from the entrance of this alley between Oxford Avenue and Van Kirk Street to the back of the home where the 16-year-old had been staying.
The 16-year-old is known to the police, and we're getting information that he was temporarily staying with a family, possibly friends of his.
Known to the police, meaning that he in these streets and he doing what he ain't supposed to be doing. They don't throw 60 shots at somebody that's just not doing it. They throw shots at somebody that's very active and involved in the game.
At their family's home at this location.
Police then soon saw neighbors' surveillance videos that showed them what detectives called the brazen 4 p.m. daylight execution of this teenager.
3 shooters.
Somebody said, Say Max says, you ain't got to say chat. Anton addressed this one personally. Said, Chad, help me out. If it's too ignorant, it's not ignorant to ask a question. Bear with me. Would it be a sin if you take a life based off of defending yours? That's always been my fear, but AD mentioned getting a CPL. Absolutely not. 100% it would not be a sin if you're defending and trying to prevent somebody from taking your life or somebody else around you. Otherwise, listen, if that would be the case, then we don't need a military. We just need to let the criminals run wild. If that be the case, it is never a sin to defend yourself and put yourself in a position to ultimately have to, or if you're forced to, under the worst circumstances, have to prevent somebody else from suffering. Think about it like this. Let's frame it like this. You and this old lady is walking down the street, and somebody is about to run up on her and bust her head wide open, kill her, take her purse, and then take her stuff, and then take her little $50 in her purse, and then take her life. What would you think that the best thing to do? What would the godly thing to be to do? Would it be to defend the old lady under any circumstances and yourself, or would it be to let the criminal get away and then pray that they have a change of heart later? I'm just wondering, because if you read your word and you read your Bible, listen, God played no games. As a matter of fact, one of the adjectives that they described God as is a terrible God when it comes to how it is that he deals with his enemies and the people that he didn't like. He would absolutely direct some of the greatest men in the Bible to smote their enemies. Look at any of the stories in the Bible and tell me, did they get in there and put in that work? Did they address their enemies directly, or did they just let everything run amok and that was just the end of it? No. And when God told you to go in there, he said, destroy everything. Don't take their children. Don't take their women. Don't take their stuff. Destroy everything. Don't even align yourself with a group of people that's not even going in the direction that you're going in. That's why I'm so steadfast when it comes to how I view things, and I'm 10 toes down when it comes to, if I identify you as somebody that is against what it is that we doing from a righteousness sake, or is not going in the direction that we going in, you better believe if you an enemy of me. If you an enemy of God, you an enemy of me. All across the board, he was taking first sons, wiping out entire tribes, David and Goliath. Anyways, let me continue.
The victim through the rear driveway 3 shooters were firing shots. When our victim collapsed behind the house, you can clearly see on camera, private surveillance cameras, that 2 of the shooters stood directly over our victim while he lay in the driveway and fired shots from just a few feet away.
Now, if you out here doing something that's evil and you get caught up in the game, that's a completely different conversation. But if you are a person that is a law-abiding citizen, taking care of your business, trying to be a pillar of your community, absolutely defend yourself.
So it appears to be an execution-type homicide. We do not have a motive at this time.
Witnesses told Fox 29 News the 3 killers got back into a white car with a getaway driver waiting, believed to be a Nissan with tinted windows and what they thought was a white and beige New Jersey plate on back that was bent up.
But there's so many.
It's too much violence that's happening in this world. It's too much negativity, and it all seems like it's really stemming from the youngest amongst us. Anyways, last but not least, Biden is set to address the nation tonight. Tonight he is set to address the nation. His first time appearing on camera since allegedly getting the vid. Check it out.
President Joe Biden is heading back to the White House this midday. For the first time in more than a week, he now says he will address the American public tomorrow at 5 p.m. from the Oval Office. That's just 3 days after dropping out of the November election and backing Kamala Harris for president. And thank you for joining us this midday. We are live on ABC 30 Hulu Live, and we're...
The amount of effort that it takes to get up them stairs, turn around, and then address the nation, it's a lot of effort, a lot of work.
Wherever you stream, I'm Jason Oliveira.
And I'm Graciela Moreno. The president is returning to Washington, D.C. with a clean bill of health from his doctor, saying that he tested negative for COVID and all his symptoms have resolved. He has been isolating at his beach home in Delaware since getting the diagnosis last Wednesday, while on a campaign stop in Las Vegas. This trip back to Washington will be the first time that we've seen him since becoming sick and withdrawing from his re-election campaign.
Biden is scheduled to get his daily briefing once back in Washington, D.C., but has no other meetings noted on his agenda. On Thursday, he is expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is in the country to address Congress tomorrow. Netanyahu will also meet with Vice President Kamala Harris. The two are expected to talk about the current Israeli-Gaza conflict.
Don't worry, DJ
Harris
Ace.
says the Vice President
today.
plans to bring up several items with the Prime Minister, including concerns about the humanitarian situation in...
So, long story short, Biden is set to address the nation tonight. I will be covering it live on the Anton Daniels show on my other channel. So make sure that y'all subscribe, that y'all get the notifications that go along with that. I will be covering his live press conference, news conference. His first time speaking, I don't know what he's going to say. I don't know what the agenda is. I'll do a lot more research, but I will be covering it live tonight. I believe it's going to be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure y'all tune into that. I'm going to give y'all my comments because it's important. It's important for us to become informed, and I'm going to do my part in making sure that you guys are educated in what's going on out in these streets. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your Quick Hits.